The first time I realized just how far this madness would go was the night Karen drove her Lexus straight through my garage door, sparks flying metal. Bending neighbors screaming. That was the night she finally hit rock bottom. But to understand how we got there, I have to take you back to the morning. It all began when I opened my garage at 6 a.m. and found her car already sitting inside like it belonged there. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd lost my mind. Maybe I bought a Lexus in my sleep, but no. The plates weren't mine. Then I saw her, Karen Simmons. Our self-proclaimed queen of the HOA leaning back in the driver's seat like my garage was some bed and breakfast. When she spotted me, she had the audacity to smile. "Oh, good, you're awake," she said, like this was normal. "I needed somewhere safe to park for the night. You're welcome that I chose your garage." I stood there, coffee steaming in my hand, trying to process whether this was a prank or an invasion. "Karen," I said slowly, "you're parked in my garage." She tilted her head, eyes gleaming with smugness. "Technically, your driveway and garage are part of community property. Overflow events, you know, perfectly acceptable." Overflow events. At dawn, she actually thought breaking into my garage was a favor. I told her to move the car right then, but she rolled her eyes. "Relax. I'll only be a few hours. I've got an important brunch with the HOA president. You wouldn't understand, but my time is valuable." That's when I noticed the tarp at the back of the garage covering my brother-in-law's sheriff's SUV. He had left it there while his driveway was repaved. Karen thought it was some junk car. I didn't correct her. Instead, I smiled and said, "Fine, stay as long as you want. Don't say I didn't warn you." Then I shut the garage door, leaving her inside. Minutes later, my brother-in-law pulled up. Jeans jacket, but you could feel the authority roll off him. When he saw Karen's Lexus parked next to his department-issued vehicle, his face tightened. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "you're trespassing. Care to explain before I treat this as what it is, breaking and entering?" Karen stumbled out, stammering about community safety and how she was volunteering. My brother-in-law didn't buy a word. I'll never forget her face when he pulled the tarp back and revealed the sheriff's badge gleaming in the morning light. She turned pale as paper. Most people would have hidden for weeks after that humiliation. Not Karen. By the next day, she'd twisted the story into how I and my cop connections had bullied her. Whispers spread at the coffee shop. By evening, a flyer taped to my mailbox announced an emergency HOA meeting. Agenda, garage usage, and safety. Mandatory attendance. At that meeting, Karen stood at the front, clipboard in hand, milking the spotlight. She spun the tale like she was a victim of intimidation forced to take shelter in my garage because of suspicious activity. Then she demanded a new rule, temporary garage access for overflow situations. I sat there biting my tongue until she pointed at me and said, "Our neighbor may exaggerate." That's when I stood. Exaggerate. You broke into my garage at dawn, parked beside a sheriff's vehicle, lied, and said I invited you. That's not exaggeration, that's a police report waiting to happen. The room went silent. For a flicker of a second, Karen's mask cracked, but she quickly spun it back, claiming she feared for her life. Right then, my brother-in-law walked in through the back, arms folded. For the record, he said calmly, "Trespassing is a crime." She wasn't invited. The air went out of the room. Karen excused herself, face twitching, but I knew she wasn't finished. Within days, little things started happening. My trash cans tipped over, packages ripped open, mail missing. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then, I set up a motion camera and caught Karen sneaking across my driveway at midnight, knocking over bins like a petty burglar. I didn't confront her, not yet. I let her think she was getting away with it, because the more rope she took, the tighter the noose would be. Her boldest stunt came when she marched to my porch one afternoon, clipboard in hand. "I've filed a petition," she declared, "to inspect your garage for hazardous materials. It's my duty as HOA chair." I nearly laughed, but I stepped aside. "Go ahead." She strutted in heels, clicking, certain she was about to expose something scandalous. Instead, she found the unmarked county car and above the workbench video clips looping of her midnight sabotage. She froze, face twisting. "This is harassment," she sputtered. I sipped my coffee. Harassment would be filing this report already. I haven't yet. That should have stopped her. Instead, she escalated. Glossy pamphlets landed in every mailbox accusing me of storing dangerous chemicals running an illegal workshop. She staged protests in the cul-de-sac, complete with strangers holding cardboard signs. She even projected grainy images of my garage on a sheet strung between trees, blasting her own voice through a PA system. "What is he hiding?" Neighbors started avoiding her kids, cried from the noise, but Karen kept doubling down. I'll admit, there were nights I wondered if she was winning. Neighbors whispered some, looked at me differently. One morning, a mom asked if I really had barrels of chemicals hidden inside. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was I the problem? Was I overreacting? Maybe if I just let it go, this circus would die down. I remember sitting in the garage, lights dim, feeling hollow. She had stripped away my peace, turned my own neighbors against me. I thought about giving in, but then I looked at the footage, her prowling with a flashlight, her tearing open mail, her lies stacking higher and higher. That was my turning point. I realized giving in wasn't peace, it was surrender, and surrendering to Karen meant she'd never stop. So I chose to fight not with shouting or theatrics, but with patience, proof, and timing. And Karen, she handed me everything I needed. She burned down my shed one morning, accelerant still reeking in the ashes. She sent smear letters, organized late-night watch parties outside my house. Finally, one night the cameras caught her creeping up my driveway with a crowbar. The floodlight snapped on. She froze. My garage door rolled open and out stepped my brother-in-law in full uniform. Karen dropped the crowbar and bolted. But we had it all on video. Even then, she didn't stop. Days later, my house shook as her Lexus slammed into my garage door. Once, twice, 3 times, until the panels buckled. On the 4th hit, the door gave way and she drove inside, headlights blazing, screaming about proof and government cover-ups. Neighbors poured out with phones recording. She stumbled out, hair wild, pointing at the sheriff's SUV in the back. "See, he's hiding it. He's guilty." That's when the sheriff himself arrived, cruiser lights flashing. He stepped out, calm as stone. "Karen," he said evenly, "that vehicle is county-issued, stored here with authorization. What you've just done is felony destruction of property, trespassing, and violation of a restraining order." Her phone wavered in her hand. She looked at the neighbors, desperate for validation. No one moved, no one spoke. The silence was suffocating. She broke it with a scream. "Arrest him. He's the criminal. I am the HOA." But the only cuffs that clicked shut were on her wrists. Her cries echoed down the street as deputies led her away. Neighbors recording every step. By morning, the videos had spread online. Headlines screamed, "Neighborhood Karen Ram's garage ends in handcuffs." That's how it ended. Not with me shouting her down, not with me playing her game, but with her destroying herself one entitled stunt at a time. The HOA board voted unanimously to remove her from leadership forever. The neighborhood finally breathed again. And me, I sat in my garage, coffee in hand, replaying the footage of her screaming, "I am the HOA," as the deputies dragged her off. Because in the end, I didn't need to defeat Karen. She did that all by herself. Patience, I realized, is the sharpest weapon against entitlement.